I did a video on how I would have introduced the X-Men in the MCU, but the Fantastic Four were more challenging. We haven't gotten an adequate Fantastic Four movie, while we at least got a few good X-Men movies. In theory, it'd be easy for the MCU to do literally anything, and it would surpass Fox's attempts to cremate this franchise. Look at how the MCU handled Spider-Man. At least for the first few years, it seemed they deliberately skipped the elements people were familiar with from previous movies. No Uncle Ben, no Spider-Bite. Would the MCU take the same approach with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four? That seemed logical, which is why I took that approach in my MCU X-Men video. By the time you get X-Men fighting some form of evil, it's been many years since the last time Fox attempted something with the X-Men, so people have forgotten that weird taste in their mouths from the previous movies. But how do you avoid what's been done with the Fantastic Four? We've seen their origin twice. People might be getting tired of it, which was certainly a factor with the MCU Spider-Man. But there's also timing. 2 years between Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland, while there will be 8 years at least between Fan Forstic and the John Watts Fantastic Four movie. With Spider-Man, how he gets bit isn't important, but how he chooses to use his power is. But with the Fantastic Four, their origins tell us something about them. In the comics, Reed and his friends are patriotic. They want to serve their country, even if they have to bend the rules to do it. In the Tim Story movie, Reed wants to help humanity with what can be learned from their space trip, while Doom wants to make money. In Fan Forstic, they want to be famous. The origin defines the characters in each iteration. I think you could do that with this new version while putting a new spin on it. Shortly after Infinity War, the governments of the world decided they were sick and tired of these alien invasions. They get the best scientists to figure out an anti-alien invasion system, inspired by Tony's idea for Ultron, but less likely to betray humanity. This is what we eventually see, spoilers, Nick Fury hanging out on at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. Working on this project is Reed Richards and Sue Storm. Sue isn't especially sciencey in the comics, but that's an addition to her character the Tim Story movies and Fan Forstic added, and I like it. Reed and Sue meet, they're friendly, but they don't get romantically involved. While Reed's brainstorming in the early days of this project, he's investigating theories on where the victims of the snap vanished to. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. Half the universe disappeared. He's made it his personal mission to figure out where they disappeared to. He's accidentally discovered this other realm he's calling the negative zone, where he thinks maybe the snap victims are. He hasn't confirmed his theory, but he has figured out a way to siphon off small amounts of energy, which could be helpful in these space stations. Constructing a space station is easy enough, but this negative zone energy would make tracking alien signatures and offense more manageable. Ben Grimm's a veteran, so in building space stations to protect Earth, they'll need to be staffed by people who can handle the threats. Reed recommended Ben, and Susan recommended her younger brother Johnny. He's into cars. It's not too much of a stretch to say he'd be into airplanes too. He was in the Air Force, got kicked out for his attitude problem, did some private piloting, a little male modeling, probably got in trouble for drag racing. Being part of the earthcore could straighten out Johnny's life. The station gets completed, Sue and Reed are making sure everything's in ship shape, Ben flew up there with them, and Johnny came to see what he's getting into. This is happening as Hulk unsnaps all the snap victims. The blip released minute levels of radiation, which had an unforeseen reaction with the negative zone energy in the station. This catalyzes their changes into the Fantastic Four. Transformed by this freak accident, they go back to Earth and go their separate ways. They have powers, but they don't see any reason to fight crime. Johnny suggested it, but the rest of them think that's a stupid idea, so they go on living normal lives. The earthcore project is temporarily delayed since the governments of the world now have twice the population of the last 5 years to deal with, so Ben becomes a bartender. We won't have Ben screaming about how he's a monster. Johnny joined the New York Fire Department. He's a godsend when it comes to rescuing victims in burning buildings. Sue stayed with Earthcore, running one of the stations Nick Fury isn't on. Reed is the mastermind of a dozen tech startups. According to Mark Waid, Reed is smarter than Tony Stark, but Tony knows how to market his ideas. Reed comes up with billion-dollar ideas and someone else handles the business. That's how he pays rent, but he's still looking into ways to enter the negative zone. Johnny asked Reed to help invent better uniforms for his fire crew, and that's where Reed invented unstable molecules. This is where things get squirrely, and I'm not sure if you guys will like it. Check my Fixing Loki video before you go further. Out of the blue, Reed's father shows up, who Reed hasn't seen since he was 15. In the comics, Nathaniel Richards, not to be confused with any of these Nathaniel Richardses, was a time and space explorer. Nathaniel was well on his way to inventing time travel when he was approached by agents of the TVA to become a private consultant for them. Most TVA agents are people who time traveled when they shouldn't have, and they're given the choice to fix mistakes across time and space or be removed from the time stream. Since Nathaniel Richards hasn't broken any time laws, he could be an ally to the cause, able to bend rules a little more than their regular agents since he's not an actual agent. As soon as Reed and his friends got their powers, they were supposed to follow through on Johnny's suggestion. action, fight evil when necessary, but mostly they do sci-fi exploration to help humanity. Nathaniel isn't sure why what he knew of history from his travels has not happened. The reason is Kang messing with the past. According to Professor Hulk, you cannot change the past, but according to Professor the Comics Kid 2099 in his Fixing Loki video, someone from an alternate universe could change the past of another universe. A Kang lost his girlfriend. He goes to another reality and makes minor alterations to the past so this world resembles the one he came from, and he can get his happy ever after with the girlfriend from this reality. Kang changed something in this reality, so the Fantastic Four never became a thing. Sue and Reed never fall in love, never had kids, all kinds of stuff that should have happened likely won't, thanks to Kang's alterations. Why does Nathaniel Richards remember what should have happened? Because Kang didn't make this alteration until after Nathaniel left the time stream. That's the best I got. Somehow, Nathaniel is able to convince the gang to become the Fantastic Four. The baddie for this one would be Immortus, hinted at in my Fixing Loki video. The Fantastic Four seem much more appropriate as the ones to fight him than Ant-Man, so I'd have this be the debut after teasing him in Loki and not Ant-Man Quantumania. Whatever Immortus is up to, the Fantastic Four are able to stop him with the help of Nathaniel Richards. Over the course of the movie, the Fantastic Four decide to stay a team. Reed liked the sound of what Nathaniel described and wants to make that a reality. With this alteration in the timeline, Immortus needs to recalibrate his plans. Since I'm already keeping it squirrely, things will not course correct into the timeline Nathaniel Richards was familiar with. Sue and Reed do not get together. Instead, Ben and Sue will. Sorry, Franklin or Valerie fans, not gonna happen. It'd be cool to straight up acknowledge that this is an alternate reality version of the team, so some things will be different. People might not like it, and you wouldn't have to keep Sue and Ben a thing permanently, but explore different avenues instead of going with the normal canon just because it's the normal canon. Later on, the team could investigate some sarcophagus holding a royal prince from an ancient kingdom. Doom could manipulate Namor's rage and aim him towards the Fantastic Four. You could finally have Reed figure out how to enter the negative zone and use Annihilus and Blastar as enemies. There's lots of directions you could go, which I think would be the easy part once you figured out how to set the pieces up. I highly doubt they will go in this direction. Admittedly, it is complicated, but I think that ship has sailed with Loki and Endgame and the rules of time travel. But with how ho-hum I've been about most of the post-Endgame stuff, I don't see myself being excited for whatever they do with the Fantastic Four. But this was just a fun idea I had, so I hope you guys like it. Until next time, have a good one.